Hello everyone, I'm Steph and welcome to the Lucy Bird. You are here because you're ready to build your gnome. You purchased a kit at either one of the in-person events where we were at together, or maybe you got one off of my Etsy store, but regardless, you're here because you want the instructions to build your cute little standing gnome. So before we get started, just wanted to tell you, you can find more inspiration over on my website, The Lucy Bird. These can be done up in any season. They're so fun to customize. I can't wait to see how yours turns out. And I think the really fun thing about these is no two gnomes will turn out the same. Because we use upcycled shoes and upcycled sweaters for the hats, everyone's going to be unique. They can be mixed up in any fun combination. And I'll tell you, I love the ones that have all sorts of different colors the best. So the matchy-matchy ones are cute, but my personal favorite is when there's a lot of variety of colors in there. So before we get started, let's start by taking inventory of your supplies. So let's start by making sure you have all of the foundation supplies that you need. So I do sell refill foundation kits in my store. And the foundation kits include everything you need for the structure of your gnome. So it is one cone. You need 2 wooden dowels. These are going to be the legs. You need a package of, it's 2 foam rollers, a styrofoam ball for the nose, and then 2 little, I call them paws. I don't know what gnomes have. They're mythical creatures. They can have hands or paws, doesn't matter. The kit includes the beard. It includes 2 wooden pieces that are going to be used for the feet and will give the stability that will make the gnome stand. And then 2 pieces, very small pieces of fur. We're going to use these to cover the feet so that you don't see the wooden pieces. A baby sock would also work really well. And then that's it. That's everything we need for the structure. In addition, you need your outfit. So this is where I'm really excited to see what you build. I would love it if when you're done, you would share it on Instagram or Facebook or message me. So for this one, I picked out, I have a cute little body piece. This has little orange mopeds and a little pink bug on it. I'm going to mix it with these leggings that are orange with daisies on them. I think that'll bring out the orange in that car. I have a pink hat, 2 arms, a round felt bottom, and that's it for the basic outfit. If you are at one of the live events, you may also have some add-ons that were sold there. Oh, and of course the shoes. We can't forget those. Those are what makes it so cute. So I selected for this just a cute little purple pair. And if you were at one of my live events, you maybe have on an iron-on decal. You possibly have a tutu and maybe a little lovey. So that would be everything. I'm going to put this away. My box is empty now, so I'll just set that down. In addition, you need a few common crafting supplies. I'm sure you have most of these on hand already. So you need a hot glue gun and plenty of hot glue gun sticks. A lot of this gets held together with hot glue. These are no-sew if you got them at one of my events. I've pre-done that piece for you. You need a sharp scissors. My very favorite one is, the brand is Karen K. Buckley. You can find these at any quilt or craft store. And I like them because they're serrated and they're super sharp and have a great point on them. You need a marker or a pen would work. Some paint, whatever color of your choice. I tend to always, this is an Americana color called Natural Buff. That's the one I always use on my nose, but you choose whatever nose color you want. A paintbrush, and then some polyester fiber fill, which I'm just gonna set aside for now. And then if you have an iron-on decal, you need a hot iron. So let's start by pretending you bought the decal because we want to get that on and set aside. If you didn't purchase one or don't have one, no big deal, just skip this step. But I just have my hot iron ready to go. I'm going to find the middle of the front of my hat, so the seam is the back. I'll just kind of center this here. And I'll just choose a nice place to put it, maybe up about 1 inch from the bottom. I have a couple over here with decals on. You can see if they're about 1 inch or more up. Perfect. This is a very forgiving pattern. We can hide a lot of mistakes with this. So I'm going to start by just holding it on there, probably for about 10 to 15 seconds. Move it around a little bit. I don't want to burn the fabric of my hat, but I want to make sure that that glue on the back of that decal is nice and warmed up so that it sticks. And that part is done. We're going to set that aside for now, and I'm actually just going to set this aside so that I don't burn myself on it as we work. So now we're down to building the gnome. So let's start with your nose piece. Oh, one more item I forgot that it's just going to be helpful, a toothpick. And that is so that you don't get your hands super messy with the paint while we paint the nose. So your round nose is styrofoam. It may have a couple of little things that came on it from the manufacturer, little flakes around the seam, but you will notice there's a seam on the nose. I like to make sure that that seam kind of gets hidden, that it's not front and center with the nose. So make sure that when you have the nose facing towards you, the seam is going around. And I'm just going to stick the toothpick in on the back. So now holding this, my seam is going around that way. Paint it whatever color you like. And then a great place to put it while it dries is just on the top of your cone. So I already have one pre-painted and ready to go, so we don't have to wait for anything to dry. So let's get building here. I'll set my fur pieces aside for the moment. I'm going to start with the 2 wooden feet. So with these have some holes pre-drilled into them for you. I'm going to flood them with hot glue. And by flood, I mean be super generous, because this is really going to be what holds the structure of your gnome together. So once those are filled in with hot glue, I'll stick my dowels in, and I'm just going to hold them there just for probably about 30 seconds while it sets up. You'll notice a little glue came up out of the hole when I put these in, but it's no big deal. We're going to get that covered up. You're never going to see it. Like I said, there's not a lot of things that need to be exact with this. While those are setting, I'll set that aside. We're going to grab the 2 small pieces of fur, and these are going to be the coverings for these wooden pieces. If you have sandals or shoes that are, like would expose any part of the foot, like on these, all we're really going to see is the top. That's really what we want to cover. We just want to make sure that when you look down in there, you're not seeing a piece of wood with hot glue on it. But if you have a sandal, or if you purchase something that's like a Mary Jane shoe, just make sure those pieces of the shoe or those pieces that are going to be exposed have some fur covering. So I took this piece and I snipped in about halfway. And the reason I did that is because I want it to be able to wrap around the dowel. When you do that, you're never going to see that that snip is there. So snip in, I'd say I'm about 2 finger lengths down from the top. I'm going to cover the top of this with glue and press that on there. Then I'm going to repeat for this side about 2 finger lengths down, cutting about halfway in. Put some glue on there and cover that up. Okay, so those are nicely covered feet. Next, you're going to get these into your shoe. This may be a difficult part, just depending on, I've noticed baby shoes, they are all super different. A lot of them have, some of them have a thicker sole in them, some of them have no support in the bottom. Don't be afraid to manipulate the shoe. So this one is going to be fine. I can tell from the size of it, I'll be able to get this in no problem. But you may have to pull that sole out, do whatever you need to do to get your wooden piece in there. Tuck that fur in and get these set and ready to go. Again, depending on your shoe, you may need to fluff a little fur around. These shoes are fine. They have a lot of structure to them, so I don't need to fill out the toe. But there may be some softer shoes where you might want to take a little of your polyester fiber fill and tuck it into the front just to fill it out. But these are perfect as is. So the feet and the legs are ready to go. Next, I'm going to take my leggings and I'm just going to set them on over the dowels to the bottom. There should be about 3 inches of your dowel poking out the top. And we're going to set that aside for now. And we're going to work on the body piece. If you painted your nose in the beginning, now might be a great time to double check. Does it need a second coat of paint? Like I said, mine's pre-painted and dried and ready to go. So I'll just move on to the next step. So for this, you're going to take the wrapping off of your cone and grab your body covering piece. So let's start by placing this down. I put my cone in the middle with about 3/4 of an inch to an inch hanging off the bottom. The reason we're going to leave some fabric off of the bottom is we want to have enough to tuck under to give us a nice clean finish underneath. These are all finished, so they get covered up with a felt piece. But you'll see we just want a little bit of fabric to cover the bottom there. So that's why we leave a little overhang. And I start in the middle, kind of roll it to the side just so I can get this evenly rolled on. But I'm going to start by running hot glue down the side of it. Not all the way to the widest part of the bottom. I'm leaving that inch there. And I'm going to roll that there and then roll it up and glue it off over here, roll it over. Do not stress about getting this on perfectly. You might find you have a little gap here or something didn't roll on perfectly. That's fine. You'll note everything on the front, this seam here is going to end up being the front of the gnome, and you'll notice it all gets covered up. So if it didn't go on perfectly and is a little uneven, that's fine. Don't stress. So you now have your cone covered. You have about that inch hanging off the bottom. You're going to grab your sharp scissors and you're going to go around and make tiny V cuts in. And I'd say we're going to put in a total of maybe like 5 of them. And all these are, they are little relief cuts so that we can eliminate some of the bulk of this fabric. So I went all the way around, got those little bits of fabric cut out of there. So now when I go through with my hot glue gun, and this is a part where you're going to want to be super careful. So if there's, you always have the potential to burn your finger, but if there's any super high potential, this is it right here. So I just do a light amount of hot glue and I very gently roll it on with my finger. If you're really concerned at this point, you could buy a finger covering. You could maybe use the edge of something or like a popsicle stick to help put it on. I found I just use my finger and I just work quickly and carefully. So you're going to go all the way around, getting that on, just kind of tucking it in. So let's see, I did 5 cuts here. We'll get this covered really quick. I do think it almost works better if you work quickly. I have one little leftover piece that needs to go down. Okay, so here we are. This is what the bottom looks like now. Before you add on that felt piece, we're going to make some holes in this so that we know, they're going to be like guide holes. We want to know where our legs are going to go. I always face the feet towards me, and I face my cone towards me with the seam to me, because remember, that's the front of your gnome. That's a little counterintuitive to what a lot of people want to do. They want the seam to be the back, but we want it in the front so that it gets covered up and will make for a nice clean cone. So I'm just kind of feeling here, you're going to know when it's stable, and it's just really going to depend on your legs and how everything went in, but you'll feel it, and you're going to press this until it meets the legs. So you can see right now, he's leaning a little bit. Now is your chance to get that fixed, get it straight. So I am happy with that. Get the feet positioned. And once you have those, I guess we'll kind of call them pilot holes made, you'll pull this back off. We're going to now cover it with that felt circle that was included in your kit. And here's where you need your marker. So those holes are done. You're going to grab your marker and you're going to gently feel for these holes and just place a dot over them. Doesn't need to be big, just 2 small dots where those holes are. Take that off, use your sharpened or your sharp scissors and cut 2 little slits. Put it back on, find your holes, kind of feel it with your finger, make sure it's on there nice and even. And then we're going to use what's called the hinge method. So I'm going to hinge back one side. I'm going to put some glue around the edge, kind of throughout, and let that gently flip over. The reason we're using the hinge method is it's going to go on exactly where you want it, and it's going to save you from potentially getting burned because you're only working with half of this felt at a time. So I have my felt piece on the bottom. You can see that gave it a nice clean finish. And those holes are marked. I just kind of gently found them with my finger. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to first make sure I have enough glue. Oh yeah, it's still good enough. I'm going to pump about 2 to 3. You can hear it sizzling in there. 3 pumps of hot glue and put this on. Remember, you want the seam to the front, and we did the work before of finding where it stops. So you'll just get this set, and once it's set, you might have a little opportunity here to straighten it, because once it sets, it's done. You're not going to get those legs out after that hot glue sets. So I might want to just put it down there a little bit more. I'm going to set that aside. We're making good progress. Let's move on to our arms and hands. So you got 2 arm pieces. They are not sewn because we're going to use hot glue to secure them. And you have 2 foam rollers. So I just run a line, a light line of glue down the long side. And I place it so that the edge of my roller meets one edge of the arm. Don't worry, there's some different sizes of rollers in the kit. Some are a little bit longer, some are shorter. If you have a little roller hanging off the edge, that's fine. If you have a little roller, or if you have one where the fabric is hanging off the edge, that's fine too. You only need one edge to match. So you can see the rest will get hidden underneath the hat. That's why it's not a big deal that both ends match. I'm going to just gently roll this, place another line of glue, roll it off, and there we have one arm done. And the edge that you matched up, we're going to put a little glue on there, place his little paw on there, and there's one arm done. Let's do the second arm. So here's where you can see why I said this is a forgiving pattern. Not everything in here needs to be exact. There's a lot we can hide underneath things. It's still going to turn out cute. So even if if you don't consider yourself to be a super great crafter, I still think your gnome's gonna be awesome. Put another line down there. Roll that off. Some glue on the end. And there's his paw. Now, if you bought a tutu, here would be the part where you would slip that on. First, this would be for anybody. Let's just gently hold up these little leggings by putting just a dab of glue on the back. Nothing much, just a little dab, and slipping those pants up with the seam in the back. So now we know those are gonna stay up. And if you bought a tutu, you can see the tutus make them really fun. Slip that on. And they might be, some might have some stretchier elastic than others, but I think this is cute. That's gonna work out great. We'll put that on. And really the only difference between putting a tutu on and no tutu on is how you would handle the beard. If you didn't have a tutu, you would just take your beard piece and place it, I'm just gonna slip this off really quick just to show. You would take your beard and place it in the front with about 1/2 of an inch hanging off, and then you would glue it on by just putting some hot glue up here, gently placing it where you wanted to, flipping it up, putting another dollop there, placing it down. If you're using a tutu, you can see from this one and this one here that we really only use about 1/2 of the beard because the tutu is covering up a lot of the bottom part of that cone. So let's slip this on. Doing it so the seam is in the back. And I think I maybe want like 3 inches of beard. Here's a fun thing about faux fur. It is best when it's torn. And it's actually the least messy when it's torn too. So, oh yeah, I would say that's about right. So I'm going to put some hot glue on this beard and get that in the middle. So now whether you had a longer beard or this beard, we're at about the same place. Next, take your nose. We're not going to use the toothpick to secure anything, but we are going to use where your hole was as just placement. I have a little fur on my glue stick. We're just going to use the hole as placement for our hot glue. Nice generous dollop. We're going to stick it right into the beard. And this you do want to hold for a little bit just to make sure it gets a secure hold in that fur. I think that's good. That's looking cute. Next, take your arms where that seam ended when you rolled it, put some hot glue on that, about the top 2 to 3 inches. And then I just place it right beside the beard. Hold it on and repeat. So here's where you can see again that if you had a little extra roller coming out the top, no problem. If you had some extra fabric, no problem, it's going to get hidden. We're on to the last step already, and that is putting the hat on. And here's where you can fluff it up as much or as little as you want. So you can see that for these over here, I've filled it pretty much to the top. For this one here, I did not fill it to the top. I left it a little floppy and it ended up hot gluing on a little felt ball there. But this is totally your preference. Get this tucked in there. Another little wad. I always burrow out a little hole in there. There's fur everywhere here. And slip it on. Just gonna make sure that that's, there we go. And now you can decide whether you want to, I think I might want to redistribute this. Just kind of fluff it up however you want it to be. I can actually tell I'm not going to glue this down. I can tell I need to put a little more heat on this iron-on patch. I didn't do that long enough when we started. But if you were ready to finish this off, you would just kind of flip this up, put a little hot glue there, gently tack it down, go to the front, finish fluffing. I always roll this piece up and I put a little hot glue on that. Usually it's the bottom seam of the sweater or shirt that we used. Tack it down. And now your arms are dry too. You can start bending them however you want. Maybe one of the things you purchased was a little lovey. So this one would have all of the add-ons for it. The tutu, the iron-on patch, the lovey. I always just tuck my loveys in over here, and then I use a little, just a straight pin to stick it in and hold it. So you can see, I don't have a pin with me right here, but you can see this one here. The puppy's just held on with a straight pin. Whoops, there he goes, that I've held in because it's just foam in there. So stick it in. You might need to just reposition it however you want to distribute some of the weight. And it's ready. Oh, it's ready to go. So I hope you enjoyed building your gnome. If you want replacement kits, you can, I'll put a link below. You can find them in my Etsy store. Hope you enjoyed this. You can check out my YouTube channel. I do videos over there on Cricut and quilting and general crafting, but come back again. I'd love to see what you made, so let's connect on Instagram, Facebook, or wherever it is you like to hang out.